I'm Jaynee, I'm a year 13 and I'm a local student, and I'm studying biology, chemistry, maths and English literature, and I'm hoping to study medicine at university. Growing up, my family aren't really very academic at all, so the idea of me wanting to go and study something drastically different or something at university that's different than the normal, or even going to university in general, was kind of quite unheard of. So my parents were really supportive with me being quite academic growing up, and I applied to a private school in the past where I got a scholarship, and then I found out about Cardiff Sixth Form College from my dad, who mentioned that his friend had a daughter who got all A stars, and she went here. So my dad was like, "Is that something you'd like?" So I read into Cardiff Sixth Form College. I fell in love with it, and I really sort of realised that here would be somewhere that I'd find people that are similar to me in their terms of their motivation and their drive. And growing up, I suppose I had quite a different experience than most, because I was a carer for my grandmother who had dementia while I was younger, and she was diagnosed in 2011, so I would have been, I can do maths, I would have been 7, and she passed away when I was 15. So from me being 7 to 15, I cared for my nana along with my parents, but my dad worked shifts, and my mum was unable to care for my grandmother, so a lot of the time the role of caring for her fell on me. So I think the experience of caring for someone shaped me as a person and made me even more motivated to achieve things that I wanted to. Since as long as I can remember, I've always dreamed of being a doctor. It's always been just a lifelong goal of mine. As I mentioned, after caring for my grandmother, I spent a lot of time in hospitals with her, like trying to get a diagnosis and her other ailments, and witnessing the role that a doctor has to play in diagnosing and treating a patient. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen before, and I was in absolute awe of the things that doctors were able to do. And for as long as I can remember, I've been fascinated with anything scientific. So I've never really ever thought of doing anything else, because it's just illogical. Of course I'm going to do it. So because of the pandemic, it's been a very strange year, to say the least, with meeting people and meeting friends, and it's so different to what a normal year would have been like. But I think this school really did an amazing job of allowing us all to feel connected despite the challenges posed by the pandemic. So I think my favourite memory is the Christmas meal at last Christmas, because it was the first sort of glimpse of a normal life at CSFC that I saw. And it was amazing. We were sat, it was a table of locals, and we all had Christmas dinner together, and it was so nice, and it was so happy, and all of the staff looked so happy, and it's strange because this school is so academic. You wouldn't expect it to be somewhere that has so much life and such a community sort of feel to it, but I remember that really distinctly, and it stuck in my mind because I wasn't expecting it. So I've got quite a busy timetable because I'm studying sciences, but I mean that was my decision. So after my lessons, which I normally have maybe a couple of frees in a day, but not many, but I like it like that because I think it's more interesting that way, because frees I feel like I don't get as much out of as the lessons, because there's just something about actually learning and being taught things that having to teach yourself just isn't the same. And so after my classes, I have quite a long drive home. I live about just over half an hour away, so I spend a lot of the time in the car to and from school, but I think it's worth it. And then going home, I have 4 dogs as well. So a lot of my evening is spent looking after my dogs and walking them and that type of thing. And I'm quite close to my family as well. So after I've done all my work, we tend to binge watch TV series on Netflix a lot, which is brutally honest, and I know I should be doing other things, but it's Netflix. Last year, my best friend was diagnosed with terminal cancer at the start of my AS year. And as you can imagine, that changed my world and drastically impacted the way that I saw everything. And wanting to go into medicine as well, it really made me consider how stressful and the emotional realities of studying medicine and being a doctor would be, and how they would affect me. So around the time of the first EPs was when it hit me the most, and I remember getting a horrible grade in my first EPs, especially chemistry, because chemistry is a subject that you have to do a lot of work for. So that really did hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting to be hit, because you wouldn't expect something so emotional to affect your academic ability. But I think a lot of overcoming that challenge was building up resilience and building up the skill of being able to have things go wrong in your life and do things wrong and not let them be the end of the world. So I think the biggest challenge was getting over my initial fear of failing my subjects again, because the next set of EPs and even the exams this summer, I always had in the back of my mind the fact that maybe this would go wrong and maybe I wouldn't be able to do what I wanted to do. But I think overcoming it was such an important thing for me in terms of developing as a person and someone that would be able to succeed at university. I think I'm gonna relate that back to my greatest challenge, because I think my greatest success was born out of my greatest challenge, which was overcoming all of the fear that I'd built up surrounding academics and maybe not being able to do what I wanted to do because of how much my best friend's diagnosis had affected me. I think my greatest success was getting 4As in the summer and then having my predicted grades as being 4A stars, because it really was a testament to myself and how hard I'd worked to be able to overcome the things that I'd been through and the personal things that were holding me back. Getting my 4A stars really did prove to me that I would be able to do the things that I wanted to do, and it cemented that for me. I would say resilient, empathetic, and hardworking.